So for the latest, our Natasha Kirchuk is on the scene in Tel Aviv. And Natasha, you are one of many people who heard this explosion this morning in the early hours, this drone hitting an apartment building. Tell us more.
That's right, Benita. At around 3:12 a.m., we heard a massive explosion in the area. You know, it's important to note that I don't live directly in this residential neighborhood, not too far away, about a 20-minute walk. And even from there, I was able to hear that boom and also the windows shaking in our building. So you can imagine exactly what that experience was like for people who live right next door to the scene of the attack. I want to show you the building that was targeted by an explosive drone. What you're looking at right now is a building that is about 200 meters from the U.S. Embassy. You can see the U.S. Embassy right here down the street to the left of where we're standing on the ocean, on the Mediterranean Sea. And coming back to this building over here, as you can see, windows have been blown out by the impact of that explosive drone. Now, one man was killed in this attack. He was killed by shrapnel. His body was believed to be found right over here in a building adjacent. I'm going to show you exactly where we understand that he was found. Again, this is not fully confirmed, but he was in this building adjacent. He was believed to be on the roof of this building. And you can see in the surrounding area over here, there's a lot of damage. There were also 8 people who were injured. Many were taken to the hospital. 4 suffered from acute anxiety. 4 were injured by shrapnel. We saw windows in surrounding areas be blown out. You can look right here at this building just across the street, an example of what happened to many buildings in this area. So, you know, I'd like to turn right now to a South African tourist named David Bennett. He is actually staying in a hotel right across the street from the site of this drone attack. Now, tell us what your experience was like last night with your family.
Well, actually, we woke up at about 3:10 to the huge boom. In huge disarray, my children panicked. It was very frightful. Didn't know actually what to do. Didn't know what the protocol would be because we expected to hear a siren before, you know. So my first reaction was actually to go on the balcony and look outside and see what was happening. And it was very disconcerting to see children from the north staying in other hotels come out their hotels crying. And that's when we knew something was wrong, and we went downstairs and still didn't know what the protocols were.
Now, you come and vacation in Israel every July. That's what you told me right before we began this interview. Is this something that you've experienced in the past?
Never experienced anything like this before. But it's not going to make us scared. In actual fact, we want to stay longer. That's the mentality you've got to have. You can't hide away. You come towards it rather than run away from it.
How do you believe that Israel should respond to this?
Well, first thing I think is that I think that we must acknowledge that this very much likely is an attack on the U.S. Embassy. It's only 100 meters or so away, and the U.S. should actually respond to it first. Are they going to just allow people to attack the embassy? Israel knows what to do. They need to get the information. And I'm sure once they do, they'll act in the way they need to act.
All right. Well, that was David Bennett, a tourist from South Africa who is here with his family. Thank you guys for joining us, and stay safe, of course. I'd like to turn now to a resident of Tel Aviv. This is Eldad. He's been living... Eldad, why don't you come over here just because of the shade? He's been living here in Tel Aviv for the last 12 years, so you have been here since October 7th. You remember the various rocket attacks that we saw on an almost daily basis being fired into Tel Aviv. But this is really kind of the first time that you've seen an attack like this, correct?
Yeah, it was scary because we didn't hear any alarm. It was just a big boom in the middle of the night. And you start to ask yourself what it is. You chat with your friend in the middle of the night on WhatsApp and check what's going on. And it's, you think about your security,
Now, you've been living in Tel Aviv for the last 12 years. Have you considered leaving the city right now? Because obviously we know that the Yemen Houthi rebels have essentially said that they're going to continue to target the Tel Aviv area. The Israeli government, the IDF, says that they are prepared for further attacks, but living in such a central location, have you reconsidered staying here?
No, I'm not going to leave the city. I really expect from my government to get a hard response and just make that these things want back again, you know. Just take those risks farther and take care that this thing won't happen again.
Now, Eldad lives just across the street, so you really were able to hear the perspective of both an Israeli living on the ground and also a tourist who's here visiting, somebody who's not accustomed to rocket attacks. Again, you know, Benita, you mentioned this. At this point, we know that one person has been killed. There were 8 people who were injured, 4 of whom were suffering from shrapnel injuries, 4 of whom suffered from acute anxiety. 5 have now been released from the hospital at this point. It's important to note that the Houthi rebels in Yemen have claimed responsibility for this attack. The IDF has confirmed that the drone came from a southward direction, from the direction of the sea, from Yemen. And of course, you know, we're hearing the Tel Aviv mayor speak out and essentially say that the city of Tel Aviv is now on high alert, that citizens are asked to remain vigilant as to what could play out next. But now that this has happened, and it's been such an unprecedented and really frightening attack for residents of Tel Aviv, we can expect that the IDF is preparing for how it is going to respond shortly.
And important to also note at the same time, no change at this juncture to the Home Front Command instructions. Thank you so much. Live from Tel Aviv, our Natasha Kirchhoff. Thank you, Natasha.